What if your entire life, your confidence, your decisions, your income, even the opportunities you think you deserve is being controlled by something you didn't choose? Not your intelligence, not your talent, not your work ethic. Something deeper, something older, something that was written into you before you even knew how to think. And here's what's terrifying. Most people will go their entire lives never realizing it's there. But in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly when this programming happens, how it shapes every decision you make, and most importantly, how to break free from it. If that sounds like something you need to hear, you're in exactly the right place. Welcome and stay with me, because what's coming in the next few chapters might be the most important thing you watch this year. Let me show you something real before we go any further. Two people, same city, same economic background, same opportunity lands in front of both of them, a chance to start a business, take a new role, make a bold move. Person A sees it and thinks, this could change everything. Let me figure out how. Person B sees the exact same thing and thinks, that's not for people like me. What if I fail? What if I'm not ready? Same opportunity. Two completely different responses. Now here's the question most people get wrong. They call that a personality difference. They say, well, person A is just more confident, or person B is just more cautious. But that's not what's happening. That is not personality. That is programming. And understanding that difference, truly understanding it, is the first step to changing everything. Think of your mind as an operating system. Not the apps you download, the base system that runs underneath everything else. Now ask yourself honestly, how were you taught to see money growing up? Was it something to be earned carefully and protected? Was it something that always ran out? Was it something only certain kinds of people ever really had? How were you taught to see risk? Was trying new things celebrated in your home, or was staying safe the highest value? Because here's what I want you to understand. You didn't choose those answers. They were installed in you. But the real problem isn't just the beliefs themselves. It's what they're hiding underneath, a pattern so deep that most people never see it, no matter how self-aware they think they are. I'll show you exactly what that is in just a moment. Every single person alive is running on what I call an invisible script. It comes from three places: your family, your culture, and your environment. And it shapes everything: how you see yourself, how you see others, and what you believe is even possible for you. Your family gave you your first beliefs about success and failure. If the adults around you treated failure as shameful, you grew up treating it as dangerous. If they celebrated effort, you grew up seeing struggle as part of the process. Your culture added another layer: what people like you are supposed to do, how far people like you are supposed to go, what ambitions are realistic and which ones are described, quietly but firmly, as too big. And your environment filled in the rest. The neighborhood you grew up in, the school you attended, the conversations you overheard at the dinner table. Now here is the part that should stop you cold. Most of this script was already written by the time you were 10 years old. Not 15, not 18, 10. Before you had the critical thinking to question it. Before you had the life experience to challenge it, before you even knew there were other ways to see the world. It was already in place, running quietly in the background of every decision you've ever made. Let me give you one example. A child who grows up hearing, money doesn't grow on trees, isn't just learning to be careful with money. They're learning that money is scarce, that wealth is something to fear losing rather than something to build, and that wanting more is somehow irresponsible. That one phrase, repeated enough times, becomes a belief. That belief becomes a behavior. That behavior shapes an entire financial life. And that person never once questions where the belief came from. So if this invisible script is controlling so much, why don't people see it? Because normal feels invisible. Whatever you grew up around feels like just the way things are. If chaos was normal in your household, some part of you will always be slightly comfortable in chaos and slightly uncomfortable in stability. If mediocrity was normalized, then real ambition will feel foreign, even a little threatening. This isn't a flaw in your character. It's how the human brain works. The brain doesn't label your upbringing as limited thinking or conditioned beliefs. It just calls it home. And here is where subconscious behavior takes over. You don't decide to self-sabotage. You don't wake up and choose to play small. You just feel suddenly tired when an opportunity asks too much of you. You find a reason, a very logical, very convincing reason, to wait a little longer, to be a little more prepared, to not quite go all in. And you call it being realistic. But there is a specific moment when this script gets locked in, when it stops being something you inherited and becomes something you actively reinforce. And I'll show you exactly what that moment looks like. Here is where everything separates. On one side, you have people who see an obstacle and move toward it. Not because they're fearless, they feel the same fear you do. But something in their wiring tells them that the obstacle is a signal, not a stop sign. That difficulty means they're on the right path. On the other side, you have people who see the same obstacle and stop, or slow down just enough that the momentum dies. And they tell themselves they'll try again when conditions are better, when they're more ready, when the timing is right. Carol Dweck, one of the most respected researchers in psychology, called this the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. A growth mindset says, my abilities can develop. A fixed mindset says, I either have it or I don't. But here is what most people miss about her research, and this is critical. Mindset is not a personality trait you're born with. It is a pattern you were taught. And anything that was taught can be retaught. Now I want you to pause and be honest with yourself for a second. When something hard shows up in your life, a setback, a rejection, an unexpected obstacle, which one are you? Not which one do you want to be. Which one are you right now in this season of your life? Because that answer is the starting point for everything that follows. And if you're still here, if something in this is resonating with you, I want you to do one thing right now. Hit that subscribe button, because every video on this channel is built around one purpose, helping you become the person your potential has always required. Now let's keep going, because this is where it gets really interesting. Here is the insight that changes everything, and I need you to really sit with this one. Your brain is not trying to help you succeed. It is trying to keep you safe. That is its primary function, not growth, not ambition, not fulfillment. Safety, survival, familiarity. So every time you approach something new, something bold, something that could genuinely change your life, your brain scans it and asks one question. Is this familiar? Is this safe? And if the answer is no, if this opportunity is bigger than what you've known, if this risk is greater than what your script prepared you for, your brain sends up a signal, not as a flashing red light, as a feeling, doubt, fatigue, confusion, a sudden awareness of everything that could go wrong. And most people listen to that feeling. They call it instinct. They call it wisdom. They call it not being naive. But often, not always, but often, it is just the sound of an old script protecting itself. Think about the last time you played small. The last time you knew what you needed to do and still didn't do it. That wasn't weakness. That was your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do, keeping you inside the borders of what it knows. The question is whether you're willing to expand those borders. Let's make this tangible. Two children grow up in different households. In the first household, long-term thinking is modeled. Patience is valued. Delayed gratification is practiced. When something breaks, they fix it. When something ends, they ask what's next. In the second household, survival is the dominant mode. Everything is about right now, the immediate problem, the immediate cost, the immediate relief. Not because these people are less intelligent or less capable, but because when you're in survival mode, your brain literally cannot afford to think long-term. The immediate pressure is too loud. Now fast forward 20 years. The first child naturally thinks in terms of investment, in finances, in relationships, in their own development. The second child, even when they're no longer under immediate financial pressure, still makes decisions driven by urgency and anxiety, because that is the operating system they were given. But here is the part of this story that gives me the most hope. I've seen people from the second environment completely transform, not by pretending their upbringing didn't happen, but by deliberately changing what they were exposed to. New environments, new conversations, new information, new people operating at the level they wanted to reach. Because your environment doesn't just reflect your mindset, it shapes it, continuously, every single day. Now let's talk about the thing that keeps most people stuck even after they understand everything I've just said. It's not lack of knowledge. It's not lack of motivation. It's not even lack of opportunity. It's the comfort zone, but not in the way most people think about it. The comfort zone isn't comfortable because it's pleasant. It's comfortable because it's familiar. And familiar feels like identity. When you've spent years being a certain kind of person, someone who plays it safe, someone who doesn't ask for too much, someone who watches others take the big swings, that identity becomes part of how you see yourself. And when you try to change it, something in you resists. Not laziness, identity protection. Because changing your behavior means confronting the possibility that who you were before wasn't who you needed to be. Add to that the fear of judgment. What will people who know the old version of me think? What if I try and fail publicly? What if I succeed and it changes my relationships? These fears are not irrational. They're deeply human, but they are also the reasons most people never make the move that their life is waiting for. Here's what most people never realize, though. The discomfort you feel when you're growing is not a sign that something is wrong. It is the most reliable sign that something is finally right. So how do you actually change this? Not with motivation. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are temporary. You change it with a system, and the system has 3 steps. Step 1 is awareness. You cannot rewrite a script you haven't read. This means sitting down, honestly, uncomfortably, and asking yourself, where do my beliefs about success come from? Where do my beliefs about what I deserve come from? Whose voice do I hear when I'm about to take a risk? Name it. Write it down. Because the moment you can see the pattern, it loses power over you. Step 2 is exposure. Your brain reprograms through repetition and environment. So you need to deliberately and relentlessly put yourself in proximity to the thinking you want to develop. Read the books, watch the content, enter the rooms physically or virtually where the people you want to become are already operating, not to copy them, to recalibrate your sense of what is normal. Step 3 is reprogramming. This is where you take small, consistent actions that contradict your old script. You don't need to make one massive leap. You need to make small moves regularly that prove to your brain that the new version of you is real. Every small action is a vote for the person you're becoming, and votes accumulate. The moment you see the pattern, you stop being unconsciously controlled by it. The moment you start acting against it, even in small ways, you start rewriting it. That is the breakthrough, not a single dramatic moment. A series of quiet, deliberate choices that add up to a different life. Remember what I asked at the very beginning. When does this programming happen? When does the invisible script get written? Here is the answer. It happens when you are too young to question anything, before your critical mind develops, before you have the capacity to evaluate whether what you're being told is true or limited, or simply the worldview of someone who was also programmed by their own upbringing. It happens in ordinary moments. A reaction your parent had to your failure, a comment a teacher made that stayed, a neighborhood that quietly told you what kind of person you were. Small, unremarkable moments, repeated often enough, that became the foundation of how you see yourself in the world. That's not your fault, but it is your responsibility, because now you know. And knowing, genuinely knowing, is the point where everything can change. Your background wrote your beginning. It shaped your first beliefs, your early fears, your default responses. It gave you a script you didn't ask for and couldn't read until now. But it does not have to write your ending. You are not your programming. You are the person who can choose to see it, challenge it, and replace it one decision at a time. And that choice, that single, quiet, daily choice to grow, is the most powerful thing any human being can make. If this video shifted something in you, if something here named a pattern you've been living without realizing it, I want to ask you for something simple. Like this video, not for the algorithm, but because this kind of thinking deserves to reach more people who need it. Share it with someone who is still stuck in a pattern they can't quite name. Sometimes the right video at the right time changes the direction of a life. Be the reason someone gets that. And subscribe, because the next videos on this channel go even deeper. We're going to talk about how to rebuild your identity, how to develop discipline when motivation disappears, and how to build a life that your old mindset would never have let you imagine. The work isn't over. In many ways, it's just beginning, and I'll see you in the next one.